Princess Lyra stood in the tall window of the palace tower. Outside, her world lay quiet after long years of war. Smoke still rose from ruined cities. Soldiers and builders moved like ants on the ground, trying to make things whole again. Lyra's pale green eyes watched every movement. She felt both hope and fear in her heart. Inside the tower, Lyra's private chamber was full of old holovids. Holographic images floated in midair. They showed her world before the war. Bright parks, crystal rivers, and laughing children filled the scenes. Among them was one special holovid. It showed Lyra as a girl, running in the palace garden. A boy chased her, his face full of joy. His name was Tal. He was her childhood friend. They used to play hide and seek under the marble bridges. They shared secrets by the waterfall. Tal had a gentle smile that made Lyra feel safe. Now, Tal's face had not appeared in any news. The war had torn families apart. Many messages said he was missing. Lyra closed her eyes and pressed her hand to her chest. She prayed he was alive. A loud knock echoed in the chamber. A royal messenger entered. He bowed and handed Lyra a sealed data scroll. His uniform was dusty, and his boots bore fresh sand. "Your Highness," he said in a low voice, "the war has ended. The enemy has surrendered. The council waits for your address." Lyra's heart leaped. Years of fear and sorrow weighed on her. She had not dared to hope for this day. Now, the war was over. Her mind raced. What had become of Tal? Did he live to see this peace? She broke the seal and read the short message. Victory at Dawn's Gate. Soldier known as Silver Star led the defense, hero of the final battle. Lyra's breath caught. Silver Star was a hero's name. She wanted to know more. The messenger bowed again. "The council will gather in the grand hall in 1 hour, Princess. They await your words." Lyra nodded and felt a new determination rise within her. She would speak to her people. She would guide them through rebuilding. But first, she must find out if Tal was that Silver Star. She stepped away from the window and moved toward her dressing chamber. Her white gown shimmered in the low light. She brushed back her silver hair and took a deep breath. In the stillness, memories of her childhood flashed like bright sparks. Tal's laugh, his fearless eyes, his promise to protect her. Lyra closed her eyes and whispered, "Come back to me, friend." As she left the tower, palace guards lined the corridor in silent ranks. Their armor gleamed like new under the torchlight. Lyra walked between them, her head held high. Each step echoed on the marble floor. She felt small and strong all at once. The grand hall lay ahead. Torches cast long shadows on the high ceiling. Soon, she would address the survivors of the war. Soon, she would learn if the Silver Star was her friend. And soon, her life would change forever. Commander Tal stepped from his hover transporter onto the desert's cracked surface. The sun hung low, its orange light painting long shadows. Around him, the final enemy outpost lay silent. Scorch marks and broken walls told of fierce fighting. Yet at this moment, calm ruled the sands. Tal adjusted the strap of his battle-worn armor. His title, Silver Star, felt heavy on his shoulders. He remembered the moment he earned it, when he charged the enemy line alone and broke their ranks. His unit called him a hero, but he felt no joy. He thought only of duty and survival. His second-in-command, Sergeant Vera, approached. Her dark eyes held respect and worry. "Commander," she said softly, "orders from High Command. You must return to the capital for the peace ceremony." Tal nodded. He sheathed his plasma rifle. The weapon's cool metal reminded him of countless battles. "I will go," he replied. "Prepare the transporter." Vyra hesitated. "We all thought you would rest a while." "You earned it." Tal gave a small, tired smile. "Rest can wait." He looked toward the horizon. He thought of a pale green princess and her hopeful eyes. He prayed she was safe. Moments later, the transporter's hum filled the air. Soldiers filed aboard, their faces shining with relief. They had fought long and hard. Many friends lay lost under these sands, yet hope glimmered in their voices as they joked and shared stories of home. Inside the cabin, Tal stood by the narrow viewport. He watched the desert slide away beneath them, his reflection mixed with the dunes. He tried to remember simpler times, playing with Lyra among palace flowers, her laughter echoing like music. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. This peace was for her too. Soon, the capital came into view. Its towers rose from the plains, half restored by eager workers. Flags of white and gold fluttered in the wind. Tal's heart tightened. The city was a promise of new beginnings. The transporter landed in the royal plaza. A cheering crowd surrounded him. Survivors wore patched uniforms or simple clothes. They lifted banners praising the Silver Star. Tal bowed his head, humbled by their joy. A young child ran forward, holding a handmade medal. "For you," the child said, eyes shining. Tal knelt and accepted it. He placed it gently on his chest. "Thank you," he whispered. Amid the cheers, Tal's gaze found the palace balcony. A woman stood there, her silver hair shimmering in the sunset. Her pale green eyes met his. In that moment, memory and hope collided in his chest. An officer tapped his shoulder. "Commander Tal," the officer said, "it is time." Tal straightened. He drew a steady breath. He would face the council. He would serve his people. And perhaps he would find Lyra again. As he lifted his head and walked toward the grand gates, his heart whispered a single name: Lyra. Behind him, the crowd's cheers faded into the evening breeze. The hero marched on, guided by duty, and by a promise from long ago. Commander Tal climbed the marble steps of the palace gates. Each step felt heavy under his armored boots. Torches flickered along the walls, casting dancing light across his path. The cheering crowd fell silent as he entered the grand courtyard. Statues of past rulers stood like silent watchers. He kept his back straight and eyes forward. Inside the courtyard, royal guards in shining armor formed two lines. They bowed their heads as Tal passed. He saw the palace's tall doors ahead, carved with scenes of old battles and peace treaties. He reached the doors and paused. His hand hovered over the bronze handle. He took a slow breath to steady his heart. Beyond the doors lay the grand hall. High ceilings arched above, painted with stars and comets. Long banners of white and gold hung from the walls. Silver chandeliers glowed with soft light. At the far end stood the grand throne, empty for now. A raised platform faced the soldiers and citizens gathered inside. Tal stepped onto the platform. All eyes turned to him. He saw faces full of hope and relief. Children held small flags. Women and men wore fresh clothes, clean for the first time in years. A hush fell over the hall. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed from above. "Tal," it said. The voice was gentle and familiar. Tal looked up. On a balcony overlooking the hall stood Princess Lyra. Her silver hair caught the chandelier's light. Her pale green eyes shone with emotion. For a moment, Tal forgot the ceremony. He saw only her. Lyra stepped forward. She descended a short flight of stairs to stand beside him on the platform. She wore a simple gown of white silk. Around her neck, a pendant glowed with green crystal. She looked both strong and gentle. The High Council elder raised his hand. "People of Iridia," he began, "we honor Commander Tal, our Silver Star. His courage ended the war. He brings hope for our future." The crowd cheered softly, careful not to disturb the moment. Tal bowed deeply to the elder, then turned to face Lyra. His heart beat fast. He spoke in a clear voice. "Your Highness, the victory was for all our people. I only did my duty." He glanced at Lyra. "I fought to protect our home, and to protect those we love." Lyra's eyes glistened with tears. She stepped closer. "Tal," she said, voice steady, "I believed you were lost. I have waited for you every day." She paused, looking into his eyes. "You kept your promise." Tail felt warmth in his chest. He kneeled before her. "Princess, I kept every promise I made under our cherry blossom tree. I will always protect you." Liara reached down and placed her hand on his shoulder. A hush fell again. Then, slowly, the crowd began to clap. First one hand, then another, until the hall echoed with applause. Tal stood and smiled at Liara. She returned his smile, hope and peace shining between them. The elder spoke again. "Let this day mark the start of our new era. With leaders like Tal and Liara, we will rebuild and thrive." The hall filled with joy. Tal and Liara stood side by side. The war was over. A new story began. Princess Liara led Commander Tal through the quiet halls of the palace after the ceremony. Golden torchlight danced on the marble floors. Tal's armor clinked softly with each step. Their footsteps echoed in the vast corridor. Guards bowed their heads as they passed. They entered the council chamber, a smaller room lined with data consoles and crystal shelves. At the chamber's center stood a glowing pedestal. On it lay a single data crystal in soft blue light. Liara paused and turned to Tal. "This is for you," she said. Tal approached the pedestal. He studied the crystal's smooth surface. Strange symbols glowed beneath the light. Liara explained, "This holds the war logs. It shows the true name of Silver Star." She offered the crystal to him. Tal hesitated. He remembered the many battles, his unit calling him Silver Star. He thought of his real name, just Tal, a simple name from her childhood. He touched the crystal, and it floated into his hand. Liara stepped close. "Open it," she whispered. "Let us learn your true story." Tal pressed a small panel. The crystal split into streams of light. Holographic images formed above them. He saw battlefields, strategic maps, and soldiers following his lead. Then Liara gasped. "Your full name," she said softly. "It is Talon Eris." The hologram highlighted the letters. Taelenaris. Tal's eyes widened. He had not heard his full name since he was a child. Liara studied Talon Eris in gentle surprise. "I remember calling you Tal," she said, "but your true name, it is strong." She touched his arm lightly. Tal looked at the floating logs. He saw his final battle. At Dawn's Gate, he had led the charge and shattered the enemy's line. The logs showed his command decisions, his steady voice guiding his soldiers. He saw Vira's salute, his unit's cheer. Then the logs ended with a simple note: Talon Eris, hero of Iridia. He turned to Liara. His voice was quiet. "Liara, they always called me Silver Star. I forgot my true name in the war's chaos." He smiled sadly. "But seeing this, I feel whole again." Liara placed her free hand on his shoulder. "Your name matters," she said. "It links you to your past and our shared memories." She remembered Talon as a boy running through palace gardens. She felt joy and relief wash over her. Outside the chamber, distant drums began to beat. A fresh ceremony was about to start. Liara squeezed his hand. "We will share your true name with our people," she promised. "They must know the man behind the hero title." Talon nodded. He felt pride and humility. The data crystal's light shimmered across his armor. He raised it slightly. "Let them know who I am," he said firmly. "Not just the Silver Star, but Talon Eris." Liara smiled warmly. "I will," she said. "Together we will rebuild Iridia and honor your name at every step." With that promise, they left the chamber side by side. The echoes of their footsteps carried their shared future. The hero's true name would guide the next chapter of peace. Princess Liara stood before the council table in the high hall. Advisors in simple tunics and patched uniforms leaned over their data pads. The chamber was quiet, save for distant hammering from the rebuilding teams outside. Liara's pale green eyes moved from one face to another. She felt the weight of her people's future on her shoulders. "Reports from the western frontier," began General Mons, his gray beard brushing his chest. Enemy survivors regroup near the old mining colony. They number in the hundreds and plan raids on our supply lines. The council murmured. Lyra raised her hand for silence. We have peace now, she said in a clear voice. We cannot let old hatreds burn again. She turned to Talon Eris, tall, standing at her side. His armor was set aside. He wore a simple officer's coat. His posture was calm but ready. Lyra addressed him directly. Tal, you know the land and the people. Will you lead a peace force to escort our workers and protect the frontier? Tal bowed his head respectfully. Your Highness, I will do my best. We will keep the roads safe and show our people that peace is stronger than fear. Lyra nodded. Then you have my command. A clerk passed Tal a small datapad. It showed supply routes, worker camps, and scout reports. Tal studied the map with quick eyes. He traced a possible route around hostile territory. We can move at first light, he said. My unit and half the frontier guard will go. We will travel by convoy and set up watch posts every 10 kilometers. General Mons frowned. Is that enough? They could strike from the hills. Tal met his gaze. We will send patrols into the hills too. And we will speak with the local miners. They know the land better than any scout. Lyra smiled. Then it is settled. She looked at each advisor. We must rebuild. We must trust each other. As the council dispersed to prepare, Tal and Lyra walked together down the marble corridor. Guards held back to give way. Tal held the datapad under his arm. Lyra turned to him. Thank you, Tal. Your wisdom brings me hope. He bowed slightly. Your trust gives me strength, Princess. They reached a small alcove with a stained glass window showing the twin moons. Lyra gazed at the colored light. I feel peace in moments like this, she said softly. But I also feel there is more we must know. Tal frowned. What do you mean? Lyra stepped closer and spoke low. Earlier, I received a secret message. It hints at betrayal within our own court. I did not share it with the council. Tal's eyes narrowed. Who sent the message? Lyra shook her head. Anonymous. It spoke of a high minister selling our plans to the enemy. She paused, looking into Tal's eyes. I want you to investigate quietly. Can I trust you with this? Tal took her hand gently. Always, Lyra. I will find the truth. She pressed his hand gratefully. Be careful. If this is true, it could spark a new war. Tal nodded with firm resolve. I promise, Princess. I will uncover the betrayer and protect our peace. Lyra watched him stride down the corridor, determination in each step. A new task lay ahead, one of shadows and secrets, and she trusted her childhood friend to face it. Commander Tull rode at dawn with a small escort through the palace gates. The sky was soft pink as the first light washed over the city walls. Behind him, the royal guard formed the convoy with supply wagons and workers. Tull's mind focused on the secret task he carried, finding the traitor in the court. He led the convoy along the river road. Trees lined the path, their new leaves bright green. Workers walked beside the wagons, hopeful smiles on their faces. Soldiers on horseback kept watch. Tal waved to children who ran out to greet them. Peace felt alive in their cheers. At midday, they reached the first watchpost. Tal dismounted and spoke with Captain Jura, a veteran scout. Jura pointed to the hills. We saw movement there last night, Commander, she said. A small band of armed men. They slipped away when we approached. Tal frowned. Could be enemy survivors, or traitors guiding them. He tapped the datapad. Set 2 patrols. One follows the trails in the hills. The other questions any travelers heading this way. Jura nodded and hurried off. Tal returned to the convoy. He felt the weight of the palace's halls behind him and the hope of the frontier ahead. His steps were sure. He would expose the betrayer. That evening, the convoy camped beside a quiet stream. Tal sat by the fire with Vera, his second in command. She handed him a sealed note found in the palace archives. This came with the secret message, she said. We traced it to Minister Callus. Tal's eyes narrowed. Callus served on the War Council. He has access to every plan. He broke the seal and read the short note. Supplies will fail at the Western Pass. Trust no one but the unseen hand. The handwriting matched the earlier message. He warns of a supply failure, Tal said. He knows the routes. Vyra leaned in. If he sells our plans, enemy forces could strike where we are weakest. She shivered. We must stop this. Tal stood and paced. Moonlight lit the camp. At first light, we move to the Western Pass, he decided. I will confront Callus in the palace. I need proof of his betrayal. Vyra reached into her pack and pulled out a small data crystal. We found this hidden in one of his private stores. It shows encrypted logs of weapon shipments. She handed it to Tal. Your Highness will want to see this. Tal accepted the crystal. Its surface was smooth and cold. Good work, he said softly. Keep guard tonight. No one approaches the wagons. As Vera nodded and returned to her post, Tal stared into the fire. Memories of Lyra's trusting gaze fueled his resolve. He would protect the princess, his people, and the new peace. Before dawn, the convoy would reach the pass. There, Tal would prove Callus's guilt, or face the greatest threat to Iridia yet. The desert wind whispered through the camp, carrying promise and danger together. And Tal rode on, guided by duty and loyalty. Commander Tal returned to the capital under a pale morning sky. Fatigue lay under his eyes, but his purpose was clear. He rode through the gates and past quiet streets, still rebuilding after war. Citizens paused to greet the Silver Star, but Tal's focus remained on one man, Minister Callus. He entered the palace through a side door, avoiding the grand halls. Fewer guards stood in this corridor. Tal tapped his communicator. Vera, position. A soft voice replied. At the entrance to Callus's wing. I have the crystal ready. Tal nodded and slipped into the minister's hallway. Tapestries of old victories lined the walls. Tal's boots made no sound on the plush carpet. He came to Callus's door, its bronze handle polished by countless hands. He took a breath and entered. The room was lined with shelves of books and data consoles. Callus stood behind a large desk, his back straight and chest puffed. His dark eyes met Tal's without surprise. Commander, Callus said smoothly, to what do I owe this visit? Tal stepped forward, holding the data crystal. We need answers, Minister. Information links you to secret enemy deals. Callus's expression did not change. That is a grave accusation. Tal placed the crystal on the desk. Holographic light streamed up from it, showing shipment logs and encrypted messages. Tal watched Callus's eyes flick to the images. I found this in your private stores, Tal said. It proves you sold our supply routes to the enemy. You betrayed our people. Callus glanced at the logs, then back at Tal. You misinterpret what you see. I work to confuse potential spies. These messages are false trails. Tal frowned, then explained these payments, he said, projecting a second hologram. Credits transferring from enemy accounts into Callus's name. Callus's jaw tightened. I took that money to fund peace talks. I used it to bribe warlords into surrender. Tal's heart pounded. He remembered Lyra's warning. Betrayal could spark a new war. These warlords were never notified of the talks, he said. They attacked our supply lines at the Western Pass. Callus looked away. They acted alone. I could not control them. Tal stepped closer. Your actions cost lives. Our workers nearly starved. Callus sank into his chair. I did it for peace, he whispered. I hope to end the war sooner. Tal's mind raced. The minister's words sounded honest, but proof mattered. He tapped his communicator. Vera, secure the perimeter. No one leaves. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Vyra and two guards entered and stood behind Tal. Callus raised his hands. I will cooperate, he said. Use me to bring unity. Tal hesitated. He thought of Lyra's faith in him. "Minister, you will face the council," he said. "You will answer for every life lost." Callus bowed his head. "I understand." Tail handed the crystal to Vera. The guards moved toward Callus. As they led the minister away, Tail looked out the window at the shining city. He felt the weight of justice and mercy. A soft chime rang on his communicator. Lyra's voice whispered, "Tal, I need your counsel. The frontier reports more signs of danger." Tail tightened his grip on the communicator. "I'm on my way, Princess." He strode from the room, ready to face the next storm, knowing betrayal had only just begun. At twilight, Princess Lyra and Commander Tail stood on the palace roof beside the moon garden. The sky was deep blue, and silver moonlight fell on the stone paths. Lyra held a data pad showing the frontier's latest reports. "Strange readings near the galactic rim," she said, her voice steady. "Our scouts found energy signatures beyond known space." Tail frowned. "Those readings match no star chart. It could be an ancient ruin or something else." He glanced at the twin moons rising. "We should investigate." Lyra nodded. "I agree. I will join you." 2 hours later, they boarded the Royal Scout ship Aurora. Its sleek hull gleamed under the hangar lights. A small crew waited: Captain Jura, Sergeant Vira, and 2 engineers. Tal gave quick orders. "Set course for these coordinates." He pointed to the pad. The pilot tapped the screen. Engines hummed to life. The ship lifted smoothly. Lyra pressed her hand against the viewport. Stars streaked past as the Aurora jumped to warp speed. She felt a thrill, the promise of discovery and the weight of responsibility. After an hour, the ship dropped from warp. Ahead lay a field of dark asteroids circling a green sun. Shadows moved between the rocks. Energy readings pulsed on the sensors. The crew leaned forward, eyes wide. "Unknown vessel detected," Jura announced. "It is not responding to hails." Tail stepped to the helm. "Lower shields and send a landing probe," he ordered. "We need data." The probe launched and darted among the asteroids. Green sparkles of energy danced around it. Then the probe's feed froze. Static filled the screen, and a faint voice whispered, "Help. Us." Lyra's heart raced. "It is a distress call." Tail nodded. "Bring us in closer." The Aurora weaved through the asteroids, its lights cutting through dark rock. The crew worked swiftly to avoid collisions. Below, a ruined space station appeared, a broken dome half buried in an asteroid's shadow. Strange vines glowed softly on its surface. Sergeant Vera pointed. "That must be the source of the signal." Lyra swallowed. "Prepare an away team." Tail led the team in pressure suits. They exited through the airlock into silent space. Stars scattered around them. They drifted toward the station's opening, where the hatch hung open like an eye. Inside, the air was thin but breathable. The station's walls were cracked, and plants grew from the floor. Bioluminescent vines cast eerie light. Tal touched a vine. Its surface was warm. Suddenly, footsteps echoed. Figures emerged from the shadows, alien survivors with pale skin and glowing eyes. They looked scared and exhausted. One raised a trembling hand. Lyra lowered her visor. "We come in peace," she said softly. "Who are you?" The alien's voice was weak. "We are the Yeleni. We fled the machine war long ago. Our station fell into ruin. We sent the call, hoping for help." Tail offered his hand. "We will help you." The Yeleni leader's eyes filled with relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Lyra stepped forward. "Take us to your core. Tell us your story." Behind them, the ruined station seemed to breathe with new hope. In that silent place, a new alliance formed, one that would change the fate of all worlds. Princess Lyra, Commander Tail, and the Yeleni leader, named Siren, returned to the Aurora in the small shuttle. Inside, the crew worked to stabilize the Yeleni's life support needs. Lyra knelt beside Siren's seat and offered water from a purified flask. Siren's pale eyes met Lyra's. "Thank you," she said softly. "Our people are weak. We have little food or medicine." Tail placed a reassuring hand on Siren's shoulder. "We will share our supplies," he said, "and help you rebuild." Liara accessed the station's sensor logs on the datapad. The plots showed a hidden signal beacon deep within the station's core. "This beacon," she said, "sent your call. But it will not last long without power." Siren reached into her satchel and produced a small crystal. It glowed faintly green. "This is our core crystal," she explained. "It powers our station. But it is cracked." Liara examined the crystal. Fine fissures ran like spider webs across its surface. "We can repair it," she said. "Our engineers have tools and knowledge of energy crystals." Tail nodded and tapped his comm. "Vera, prepare the repair kit." Minutes later, Sergeant Vira arrived with the kit. She and the Aurora's lead engineer, Corin, opened the kit and laid out tools and a stabilizing gel. Corin studied the crystal carefully. "We need to seal the fissures and restore the energy flow," he said. "The gel will stabilize the cracks. Then we can recharge it with a power cell." Liara and Siren assisted Corin and Vera in a small work area. Lyra held the crystal steady while Vera applied the gel. Corin connected the crystal to a power cell. Soft hums filled the cabin. Light glowed from within the crystal as it recharged. After tense moments, the crystal shone with steady green light. Corin smiled. "It is stable." Siren's relief was clear. "You have saved our home." Tail checked the datapad. "The station's life support is restoring." He looked at Lyra. "Your plan worked perfectly." Lyra touched Siren's hand. "This alliance will protect both our worlds." Siren nodded. "We have much to teach each other." Below them, the space station hummed back to life. Lights flickered on in distant corridors. Systems whirred. Outside the viewport, vines glowed softly as power returned. The Leolini home sparkled like a star reborn. Lyra stood and addressed the small crew. "Prepare to depart," she said. "We must bring the Leolini to Iridia for aid and join our governments in council." Tel helped Siren to her feet. "You will not be alone," he promised. "Your people have found new friends." As the shuttle lifted from the ruined dome, Lyra gazed at the station one last time. A new hope shone in her heart. Allies once lost to war now walked beside her. The Aurora's engines roared as the ship accelerated into dark space. Lyra turned to Tail at her side. He smiled and squeezed her hand. Together, they looked to the future, a future of peace, unity, and shared strength. The war's end had brought new challenges. Yet with friendship and trust, they would face them all. The Aurora glided through the star-strewn void toward Iridia. Inside the bridge, Princess Lyra stood at the viewport, watching distant nebula glow. Commander Tail stood beside her, the Leolini leader Siren between them. All three felt the weight of what lay ahead. Siren held her restored core crystal gently. "My people will thank you," she said softly. "You saved our home." Liara smiled kindly. "We will welcome the Leolini as allies," she promised. "Together, we can rebuild our worlds." Tail tapped the comm. "Approaching Iridia. Preparations for reception are ready." Below them, the capital spires shone like beacons. Flags of white, gold, and green fluttered in the orbital breeze. The city had grown since the war's end. New buildings, fresh gardens, and busy ports. Iridia stood proud, reborn from its ashes. The shuttle docked at the orbital station. A crowd of diplomats, soldiers, and citizens gathered to greet them. Lyra and Tau led Siren down the ramp. The Leolini stepped onto the platform, her alien footsteps light but steady. She raised her crystal high, and the crowd cheered in welcome. A council chamber awaited them in the palace. Representatives from many worlds, Iridia, human colonies, and now the Leolini, filled the seats. Lyra took her throne, and Tail stood guard at her side. Siren joined the council table, her crystal glowing softly. Lyra addressed the assembly. Today, we celebrate not just peace on Iridia, but a new alliance. The Leolini have joined us, and together we will face any threat. Her voice rang clear through the hall. A hush fell. Then Saren spoke. We bring knowledge of ancient machine races and their lost technology. We share what we can to help protect all our people. Tail then presented data from the frontier. We detected energy pulses far beyond our systems. These pulses match patterns from Yeleni archives, signs of a machine awakening. He projected holographic maps showing the pulses spreading through space. Murmurs spread across the council. Lyra raised her hand. We will not cower. We will study these pulses and develop defenses. With our combined strengths, human courage, royal wisdom, and Yeleni science, we will stand together. The council erupted in determined applause. Lyra looked at Tail and Saren, pride and resolve shining in her eyes. They clasped hands in a silent vow. Later, on the palace balcony, Lyra and Tal watched the sunset over the city. The green sun of Iridia dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in soft gold. Tal wrapped an arm around Lyra's shoulders. We did it, he whispered. We formed a true alliance. Lyra leaned into him. This is just the beginning, she said. The machine threat looms, but we are ready. Above them, the first stars of night appeared, each one a world that might join their cause or fall to the coming storm. Lyra took a deep breath. With you by my side, I feel hope for all our people. Tail kissed her forehead gently. Together, we will protect them. They stood in silence, watching the stars. Far away, a new adventure waited, one that would test their bonds and their courage. For now, peace reigned on Iridia. But soon, they would lead the charge against the dark machines for the sake of every world under those silent lights.